This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Technology-Enabled Development in India, the Roadmap for Future. The participants are Sharad Kohle, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent.
In his address on the post-budget webinar on technology-enabled development, PM Narendra Modi emphasized the government's vision of technology being a medium to empower the people of the country and technology being the mainstay of making the country self-reliant, and this vision being reflected in this year's budget as well. He sought ideas and new techniques from all stakeholders on how to accelerate the implementation of the budget proposals quickly, seamlessly, and with optimum outcome. Sharadji, how significant is the use of technology in our country's economic development, and how do you see this consultative and collaborative approach of the government yielding faster results more effectively?
Sonu, there was a time when technology was confined to certain experiments, but I think we have come a long way since then. And today, technology has become an inherent part of our lives. I mean, we cannot imagine anything, literally anything, without technology, from medicine to education to health to progress of the country overall. And when he said that technology today is getting ridden on Atmanirbhar Bharat and vice versa, Atmanirbhar Bharat also rides on technology. So it's both ways. I don't think we can imagine any facet of life today without technology. And as far as technological advancement is concerned, as far as consultative approach is concerned, Sonu, I feel technology is today booming in every part of the country. The smallest school, the smallest education center, a tiny little village, when you see these startups coming up with new kind of innovations, I mean, it can just come to you from anywhere. I mean, anybody could be thinking of how to better the things already being done. So I think that is the importance of consultative approach. When you're open to ideas, open to suggestions, you want people to let you know where all can we bring technology to bring more efficiency, to smoothening of the functions of the government or smoothening of the functions of where the government acts for the people of the country. So I think technology today cannot be looked at as a separate department. Technology today cannot be looked at as confined to a lab. I think technology today is almost runs like the blood in our body.
As you so beautifully put it, technology has become a part of our everyday life in every sphere. In fact, digital economy and fintech, they have now become words which everybody is familiar with. He talked about use of technology for the ease of living. He mentioned investment in house constructions, railways, airways, waterways, and optical fibers, and called for ideas of using technologies in these important areas. Do you feel that use of technology in the field of infrastructure can be a huge enabler for the country's development?
Very good example of that, the construction itself. I mean, remember the times when construction used to happen, when the laborers carrying things on their head, bricks being carried bit by bit. Today, look at the construction, the way it happens. I mean, you've got huge cranes lying there, driven electronically, programmed equipment being used for construction. Look at road construction, for example, where road construction, I remember, you used to see dozens and dozens of labor constructing half a kilometer of road for days together. Today, we are talking of national highways being built at the speed of, let's say, 30, 40 kilometers a day. You can't achieve this without technology. So I think technology backed by innovation these days. And when we talk of innovation, Sonu, we talk of artificial intelligence. He also referred to geospatial systems. He referred to drones. He referred to semiconductor-driven technologies. He referred to 5G. He referred to the innovations being done by the startup. So I think when we combine the whole spectrum of technology, we come out with a phenomena which drives the country so much more faster, and the kind of growth spectrum we are into. I personally feel that a substantial part of that GDP growth today rides on technology. And take any example, like you spoke of fintech. Now, financial technology, look at the number of transactions being done in the digital world. Imagine if this digital world wasn't there. We would go back to the older times when people used to write checks and payments used to happen by standing in queues in the bank. We all have come from that era. And look at the way things happen. All you need is a few touches on your screen and the transaction gets expedited. I think the contribution of technology to India's GDP growth, to my mind, Sonu, has been most significant. And I attribute a large part of GDP growth to technology, because without technology, we would not have imagined to become the fastest growing economy in the world.
Absolutely. Then he also talked about medical science being largely technology driven in today's times. He said the world has seen our reliability from our self-sustainability in vaccine production at the time of COVID, and we have to replicate this success in every sector. So you feel that the delivery of medical services in our vast country with remote areas, with rural areas, has got a big fillip through digitization?
Technology in the medical world has worked wonders. Because what we were observing over a period of time is, I remember the doctors, when they qualify, one of the conditions when they do their training is that they have to work in rural areas. I think this is a known fact. Every person who's connected with the world of medicine knows that the doctors are compulsorily required to work in rural areas. And why compulsorily? Because they don't want to work in rural areas, for the simple reason that, their own progression is not as much visible in rural areas as it is in the urban areas. So I think what the magic that technology has done today in the world of medicine is that a doctor could be sitting anywhere and the patient could be anywhere. This remote medical advisory, this remote prescription system has transformed the whole system of medicine, vaccine development in India. And I remember a few months ago, Sonu, when Covax, our homegrown vaccine, wasn't being recognized in the developed world. I mean, we were struggling to let the countries allow Covaxine injected people to be fully vaccinated. And today, America in its labs is probably planning to approve Covax and has acknowledged the fact that Covax is the only vaccine which is resisting Omicron. Surprisingly, the protein-based vaccines were not resisting Omicron. So I think today the world has acknowledged, and India's vaccine diplomacy, India's supplying vaccines to the parts of the world which needed them the most, has put India in a different map altogether. We are today recognized, although we were always good in vaccination. I mean, when it came to basic vaccination being given to children, we were always acknowledged by the world. We were supplying to so many countries. We were vaccine exporters at all times. But I think this COVID has brought a paradigm shift in the whole system, the way India looks for vaccination. So today, vaccination being exported, developed, innovated, experimented, tested in India is becoming lifeline for the world. So I think in the world of medicine, I would say first is medical transcription, as it is called, where you can remotely consult a doctor. You could be anywhere. You could just click a button and the doctor is there for advice. Then the system of storing your medical reports, the government's initiative to create a kind of a locker where a person can preserve all the blood sample reports, all the scanning done to the body can be stored in a medical locker. And any doctor around the world or in the country can access that report and give you the best of prescription. Because after all, medical advisory is based on symptoms. Medical advisory is based on your investigation, on the examination. So I think with the examination and the reports being available through medical lockers across the world, I think this piece of technology, I would say, has again expanded the scope of medicine to the remotest part of the country, because we were always complaining that in certain areas in our country,
Right.
the doctors are very few. In certain areas, we do not have the facility of doctors and so on and so forth. I think that has been done away with. That has been obviated. And the penetration of smartphones in the country, which has today crossed more than 60 crores, I think is going to bring further revolution in the world of medicine.
Another aspect was when he referred to the third largest startup ecosystem, he offered full support of the government, and he referred to the portal which has been proposed in the budget for skilling, reskilling and upskilling of youth. So you feel this is very important for the youth of India to get the right jobs and opportunities. We always talk about, employability match to jobs being a lacuna. So to fill that lacuna, this is a very important step, would you say?
Development has been a challenge for our country in the years that have gone by, Sonu. We will all have to agree with this, because the companies used to complain that we get square pegs for the round holes, round pegs for the square holes, which basically means that you're not finding the right person for the right job. And the simple answer to that was because skill was somewhere missing. This initiative where you can train, you can semi-skill, fully skill a person by way of a technological ecosystem, I think will bring accessibility to skill development programs launched by the government. And as for the startups, I would like to say that startups have been basically around developing apps. So I think most of the startups, the successful startups, I would say, we do not name startups here, but if you see some of the biggest unicorns in the country, they are purely, sheerly based on technology. So I think technology has shown that it not just progresses human life, it can also make you rich. It can also generate employment. It can also make unicorns. Today, India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world after America and China. I think the main reason why India has catapulted to that position has been technology. Having said that, I would like to emphasize here, because there are a lot of young people who listen to radio programs on this topic, I would like to say that they must bring technology in the manufacturing field also. Today, if you look at countries like Germany, countries like France, countries like China in certain regard, they have adapted technologies in the manufacturing sector. And I think the whole Make in India initiative of the government, the whole system of vocal for local, I think technology needs an injection there as well. Because if the youth, along with developing the app-based technologies, apart from developing startups which are based on apps, I think if they also bring in technology in the field of manufacturing, India will be able to move to a position where it can replace China as world's factory. And that is what I think Prime Minister meant when he said science is universal, but technology must be local. Well, science is known to the whole world. It's in the books, it's in theories, it's in various theorems, whereas technology needs to be developed. Technology needs to be brought in by people by their own hands. After all, technology rides the human mind. There could be no technology which is bereft of human mind. So I think the youth have to realize this. They have to exploit the potential of technology in the manufacturing sector. I have a dream, Sonu, that the day technology walks into manufacturing with the young people in India, I think that will be India's day. That will be India's day when India can really become not just $5 trillion economy, but a $10 trillion economy. I can say that with conviction, Sonu.
In fact, talking of manufacturing, the PM also spoke about the 2 lakh crore rupees worth PLI schemes, production-linked incentive schemes in 14 key sectors in order to promote manufacturing in the country. And he gave a clear direction to the stakeholders to provide practical suggestions in areas like use of optical fibers, in the citizen services, e-waste management, circular economy, and electric mobility. You feel these are areas which touch every citizen, every segment of our society?
Why Prime Minister highlighted these areas and why did he go for this consultative, participative approach? Because technology is something which germinates in somebody's mind. So no mind or a group of minds can be said to be exhaustive. That I cannot say at any point of time that I've got all the world's best ideas in my mind. I can never say that, because technology is evolutionary. Technology develops in somebody's mind, as I said. That is why he invited suggestions from people that how things like e-waste management, things like electrical mobility, things like, the whole ecosystem, things like blockchain technology, how they can be used more innovatively to be able to ensure progress of the country. I think the consultative approach, the participative approach has been the key of this whole address, if you ask me, because opening the platform for people to give their suggestions. And, if somebody listens to Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat, I think one thing that you see is that involvement of people. That is the beauty of democracy, that democracy is not about a few people governing the country. Democracy is about people participating in making the country reach the next level, Sonu.
Seamless, time-bound implementation of the proposals in the budget, that is the constant effort of the government, and we saw one step in that direction today. Thank you so much, Sharadji, for this discussion.
You were listening to a discussion on technology-enabled development in India, the roadmap for future. The participants were Sharad Kohli, economic analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.